Hey guys, what's up? It's Darkmyth here and welcome back to another video. Today I wanted to make a fairly quick video just around Blood DK Mythic Plus essences and corruptions now that we have a vendor and people are sort of I suppose ramping up into Mythic Plus for the end of the season. Been getting a lot of questions about this in Twitch and on YouTube, and I just wanted to make a video to put out there to have as a somewhat general guide to things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with essences. I'm going to address lower keys and higher keys, and then I'm going to do corruption, and I'm going to address lower keys and higher keys again. So starting off with essences guide. So a general setup for Mythic Plus. Now general setup, when I refer to this, I'm talking about Mythic 0 to plus 18, 19 area, okay? So the most generalized build you will see for essences is Major Crucible of Flame, and then minors, Conflict and Strife, Aegis, and Null Barrier. Now the advantages to this setup is Crucible of Flame will give you on-demand single target damage. Blood DK can generally lack in this aspect, so you can pump this into bosses or priority targets throughout your keys. Very versatile, very solid, great use. Minors wise, Conflict and Strife, Aegis, and Null Barrier. CNS and Aegis will boost your versatility, which is our number one secondary stat, and the Null Barrier will provide you an aid in coping with further magic damage whilst also providing you another source of passive damage via the Null Barrier. If you need corruption resistance, if you are over budget and you need one of the essences that give you an extra 10 corruption resistance, you can then run Crucible of Flame as a major, still run Conflict and Strife and Aegis as your minus, but then you'll swap in Formless Void as your third minor slot. Now Formless Void gets swapped in here, gives you the extra 10 corruption resistance, provides you a nice little strength buff and a haste buff each time you or an ally use an essence. You'll get around 70% uptime generally in keys with this, so it's a really nice addition to have to your essence flow. If you have no tricks or misdirect in your group, you can elect to swap out Crucible of Flame as a major and run with Strength of the Warden as a major. You'll still run your minors of Conflict and Strife, Aegis, and Null Barrier, and you won't need Formless Void because you'll get the extra 10 corruption resistance from Strength of the Warden if you're in that boat. Strength of the Warden is an AoE taunt. It'll force all enemies hit by the essence area or range to attack you. It'll increase your dodge. It'll also increase the damage those affected enemies take by 50% up to 6 seconds. Or from you, I should say, sorry. Now, this functions really well with the trinket from Temple of Sethralis, Merekth's Fang, in large pools. Now, thinking just as an example, the triple pull in Freehold at the start, you can mass grip them, drop your D&D, use your AoE essence, and then backpedal while using Fang to get maximum value out of that. The big thing with Strength of the Warden, obviously, as I mentioned, is you're playing it for the use of having no MD or tricks in your group, so you really need to coordinate with your DPS where the large pools are and where they're going to be popping all their cooldowns. As with targeted corruption now, DPS are doing insane damage if you don't have an MD or tricks. Strength of the Warden is your safety net there for holding aggro. However, you need to make sure you are using it in the right places. So that's it in the lower range of things for essence setup. Moving into the higher range of things, so the 19, 20 keys and beyond, the most consistent build you will see people running is Major Touch of the Everlasting, and then minors, Conflict and Strife, Aegis, and then Visions or Null Barrier depending on the situation. Now, why Touch of the Everlasting? So Touch of the Everlasting gives you access to a cheat death mechanic, and at this level of gameplay can cover up errors in your own gameplay if you pull extra mobs, or just acts as a safety net for you. Running Touch of the Everlasting also allows you to take Red Thirst, which gives you more access to vampiric blood and synergizes really well in that fact. If you add Visions into the equation as well as another minor, you get even further uptime on your vampiric blood. In some cases though, as I mentioned up above, you may see people run Null Barrier as a third minor there instead of the Visions, because you already have the reduction to vampiric blood via Red Thirst. So if it's a heavier magic damage situation like King's Rest with Zul, a Workshop, a Motherload or something like that, you may see Null Barrier coming out in place of Vision there. However, if you're more than comfortable in dealing with the magic damage components of those dungeons, you can just leave Visions in there as the minor to gain even more access to vampiric blood. I can't speak. Some alternatives pending those situations can be, you might see Memory of Lucid Dreams coming out as a major, same minors, or Strength of the Warden coming out as a major with the same minors again. Now these two majors have different strengths and different applications. However, both options will see you running Purgatory as a talent with these to continue to have that cheat death type mechanic and that safety net in this level of keys. On tyrannical weeks, where sustain becomes much harder on bosses, you may favor running Memory of Lucid Dreams. So Memory of Lucid Dreams, the idea behind it is it gives you the ability to do what's basically called a soft rune reset. So the best example for this is a Lord and Lady Wakehurst on a high Tyran key. When you're getting towards the end and they're both out, it gets very hard to cope with the amount of incoming damage and try and stay on top of it as a blood DK. When you start getting deeper and deeper into the fight and you're running out of runes, you're able to use Memory of Lucid Dreams to basically soft reset all of your runes or your cooldown on your runes and be able to try and get up on top of that damage. It is fairly niche though. It's not something that you just press on cooldown, and yeah, it kind of takes a little bit of knowing how to use it to try and not waste everything, because you are no doubt going to waste runes with it anyway. The advantage to using Touch over Lucid is if you plan your cheat death around certain mechanics or pulls, if you're kind of that into it, you can use your Icebound Fortitude prior to proccing your death. When you proc your essence, you actually get refunded back to 40% of your health, and you get Icebound Fortitude again. Whereas with Purgatory, you need to heal the healing absorption left over by Purgatory before it expires to avoid dying. Strength of the Warden, as I mentioned before, is the great option if you're not playing with a rogue or a hunter for tricks or MD. You just need to ensure, basically, as I said again up the top, that you're coordinating with your DPS in regards to where the large pulls are going to be and where they're going to be blowing their load to ensure you've got the essence available to stop people from getting clapped. Just a side note as well, if you do decide to run with Lucid as a major, you may need the extra corruption resistance in that build to avoid a thing from beyond or going over 59. Again, you can dump Strength of the Warden in that minor slot if you need the extra 10 corruption resistance at this level. So that's it for essences, guys. Moving into what corruption you should use. So again, in that general range, we're going to say, actually for corruption, I'm going to expand it 0 to 21, 22 area. I would just advise you to stack Twilight Devastation. How much you want to run obviously dictates the level of comfort in running with how much corruption or whatever you want to run with. 59 is the max that you should ever run with, I would suggest. As a safety though, I would always suggest staying under 40 to avoid the thing from beyond coming and clapping you and ruining your day. A question I get a lot is I see everyone is running Verse Amp now. The need for Verse Amp in lower key ranges is absolutely not a requirement for your survivability. Your survivability is actually far more dictated by your rotational play, the planning of your pulls in that dungeon, and your ability to use your cooldowns. If you're dying in these key ranges, I can pretty much promise you it's not going to be the fault of the corruption you are or are not running. It's going to be what you're doing. You could have a really shit healer too. I'm not saying that's not a thing, but more often than not, this range doesn't dictate success based on the corruption you're running. Twilight Dev in these circumstances will give you far more value or bang for your buck in regards to your corruption budget, just due to the insane amount of damage it does, the insane amount of threat gen that it provides to you as the tank as well. It's just a winner in this range. Moving up the 21 and 22 plus beyond key range, this is definitely where you will start seeing Verse Amp, Surging Vitality, and Twilight Dev start to try and find a balance and a mixture. Moving into the higher brackets, Verse Amp absolutely becomes important, and you may very well find yourself in a position where you'll be running one Surging Vite and then just stacking Verse Amp corruptions. By the time we reach max corruption resistance, I think it's 159 corruption we'll have in our budget. So you could run one Surging Vite and 6 Verse Amps for 155 corruption, and you would be very, very solid in regards to versatility amounts there. You may decide though that you want to keep a Twilight Dev 2 or 3 piece in your build. The damage and threat lost from dropping TD out altogether is very noticeable and is very substantial. It'll just depend on how your group functions. If your DPS can certainly do enough damage and your job in this key level just comes down to surviving, then that way may be the way to go. We'll kind of just have to wait and see what comes with that. Something else I think that is really worthwhile mentioning around versatile corruption is you don't just stick it on any piece of gear. What you want to be doing with your versatile corruption, guys, is you want to be putting it on your highest item level pieces with the highest amount of verse on them. You're gimping your corruption, your echoes, if you are putting verse amp on gear without versatility on it. I know it says 12% from all sources, but if you're whacking verse amp 3 on a crit haste piece or something like that, you're actually gimping and just wasting your echoes. Don't do it. In the end of the day, it is absolutely your character. You play it how you want and you do as you wish with it. This video is just to serve as a guideline and hopefully a recommendation into some of the questions that I've been getting. The idea behind these videos, or the videos I make, is to try and hopefully force people to look into their own gameplay, checking to why they're dying to certain things and the ways that they can improve on and fix those issues. And I myself have improved leaps and bounds via that strategy this season alone. One other thing I wanted to finish up with is I would encourage everyone to please come and join the Blood DK Discord. There is a link in the pinned comment below. There's a wealth of knowledge in there, guys. Even if you don't want to talk, checking out the pins and the FAQs, this is where I get all my information from. I go to Mandel and I go to Faradin and I annoy them, and then I try and take the information they give me and not butcher it when I put it into a video format. I absolutely encourage you to go there. Don't go to the WoW forums. Don't take advice from people running fucking ineffable and having 8 pieces. That is just the dumbest shit. Don't do it. Come to the Blood DK Discord. Any questions you've got there, there are so many people there willing to help people out and just wanting to help people improve. It is absolutely the way to go. So thank you so much for checking out the video, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Come find me on Twitch. Come hang out in the Discord. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them here as well. Thanks so much, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you all next time. See you, fam.